أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير ثم أما بعد الحمد لله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Respected and beloved brothers and sisters, welcome to another one of our classes of Hadith from Riyadh al-Salihin. Inshallah, in our today's class, we will be resuming from where we left off in our last lesson, which was chapter number 264, which says, باب تحريم لعن إنسان بعينه أو دابة أي بعينها. The chapter of prohibition of cursing a particular person or an animal. Islam doesn't like it when people are cursing, swearing, insulting people or even animals or other things, because cursing and being foul-mouthed and constantly being someone who is egregious and aggravated in their speech, trying to insult people, trying to shout at people, trying to offend people, is indeed definitely not from the characteristics of a believing servant of Allah who believes in Allah and His Rasul and is very much conscious that Allah has said in the Quran, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. Everything you say is being monitored and watched by Allah, and it is being recorded by the angels on your right and left. And that's why cursing with the very tongue that Allah has granted you as a gift, وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ, as the Quran says, Allah has given you tongue and two lips. Allah has given you a vocal system to praise Allah, to thank Allah, to glorify Allah. You're now going to use that constantly to curse others and to curse and to swear and to be foul-mouthed and to speak ill. La wallahi, this is not right. This is not fair, nor is it suitable for a person who believes in Allah and the fact that we came from Allah and we shall indeed return to Him. This is a continuation from previous lesson in which we spoke about the prohibition of tendering false testaments and giving shahadatul zur. We spoke about that last lesson, very important lesson. Sometimes people are lying for one another. This is one of the biggest sins. The Prophet ﷺ gave severe warning that when you give false testament and testimony and the witness said, you know what, I saw this, I was with him. You might be doing it lightly because you want to impress your friends or support your friends or support your family member. So you know, it's just a plain lie. But giving a false testimony is called shahadatul zur, is one of the biggest sins in Islam. أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِأَكْبَرِ الْكَبَائِرِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that, should I not inform you of the most biggest sins? And he said, Al-Ishraku billah, to commit polytheism and shirk, and to disobey your parents, and to give false testimony. That was last lesson. As for today's hadith number 1551, عن أبي زيد ثابت بن الضحاك الأنصاري رضي الله عنه وأرضاه وهو من أهل بيعة الرضوان قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من حلف على يمين بملة غير الإسلام كاذبا متعمدا فهو كما قال ومن قتل نفسا بشيء ومن قتل نفسه بشيء عذب به يوم القيامة وليس على رجل نذر فيما لا يملكه ولعن المؤمن كقتله. Severe and serious hadith. Abu Zayd Thabit ibn al-Dhahhak al-Ansari, that's the name of the Sahabi, Al-Rawi al-A'la, the first one narrating from the Prophet ﷺ. And he is Al-Ansari, which means what? That he was from Medina, and they were the ones that welcomed the Muhajirin, and they helped them to settle down and establish themselves in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwar. May Allah be pleased with him. Narrated that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and describing the Sahabi, it is also mentioned that he is from those who witnessed Bay'atul Ridwan. Bay'atul Ridwan is the pledge which achieved Allah's pleasure. Is a pledge of allegiance that some Sahaba, you know, when the Sahaba, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, when they went to the Prophet with the Prophet ﷺ to try and perform Hajj, before they were actually allowed. Remember, they had to go and they had to come back. They were not allowed to go inside. They said, you have to go back. Okay? So at this time, the Sahaba, they re-pledged their allegiance. لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ فَأَنزَلَ السَّكِينَةَ عَلَيْهِمْ وَأَثَابَهُمْ فَتْحًا قَرِيبًا. That they were under a tree and they said to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, we will be with you until the end. And those Sahaba who were with the Prophet ﷺ at that testimony in reconfirming their allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ, they have a special status. Do you understand? So Sahaba have different levels. Sahaba have different levels. From them are those who are earliest in accepting Islam. They have the highest standard, highest status. Like who? Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Khadija radiallahu anha wa ardaha. They have the highest status. And then those who followed suit. Then those who accepted Islam in Mecca. Then those who were witnessing the Prophet ﷺ in the Al-Aqaba, for example. Aqaba was the treaty to go to Medina, to leave Mecca and go to Medina. Then those who are Badriyun, those who attended Battle of Badr with the Prophet ﷺ, they have a very high standard because they witnessed and took part in the most decisive battle in the history of Islam, which was a turning point where Islam and the submission to Allah and Tawheed was victorious over shirk and polytheism. So anyway, so this Sahabi, one of his, if you like, golden badges, not golden, like a badges of honor, is that he was with, golden as in color, no, we don't wear, Muslims don't wear gold. As in a honor, a badge of honor for him is that he was with the Prophet ﷺ in the Bay'atul Ridwan. He's saying that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, someone who swears by another religion other than Islam, while he is lying intentionally, فَهُوَ كَمَا قَالَ. If he says, for example, I swear on anything besides, as Muslims, we don't swear anything by anything besides Allah. Okay? We say Wallahi and Billahi and Tallahi. And some brothers say Wallahi billahi Tallahi in one phrase. We only swear by Allah. Or Allah and His, Uqsimu billahi al-ali al-azim, for someone says. Or from the names of Allah. That's only allowed for Muslims. We are not allowed to take an oath by anything else besides that. You can't say Mar khosom, Bafar khosom, this is khosom, that's khosom. In Bengali they say swear by my mom's life, sister's life. You're not allowed to make all of these swears. Taking an oath by anything besides Allah is not permitted. Even if you don't believe it. Someone might say, well, I don't believe my mom is, a deity. I'm just saying it. Even if you don't believe it, it's still not allowed. If you did believe that person has some sort of authority, or that someone that you're swearing by had some sort of authority, then that's shirk. Because that's believing that you have associated in power with Allah. A'udhu billah. May Allah protect us all from that. So we're not allowed to take an oath by anything else. If someone takes an oath by another religion, then it is as you have said. It's as if you're following that religion. So this is something very, very important, because I know so many of our young brothers and sisters, forget young, even elders, khosom, this, that, they say qasam, kasme, and so many other languages, swearing by anything under the sun. This is not allowed. Mothers. You might have only said mothers what? Mother's Day? Father's Day? When you say mothers, it means I swear by my mother. You know that, right? That's dimn and it's understood. So don't use this. If you're serious about something, first and foremost, taking an oath shouldn't be required. You know why? Because you're a trustworthy person. You know what? One of the very important branches of knowledge in Arabic language is called al-balagha. And that teaches you that, when you emphasize something, you emphasize based on the level of the listener. If someone is disbelieving you, then you need to emphasize, isn't it? But if someone is very trustworthy and says, it's raining outside, do you have any reason to doubt that person? But if you know that person is always, making pranks and lying about things, we'll say, no way. Wallahi, bro, it's raining outside. Even though we can hear it, but we don't trust him because he's a liar. So as a believer, we're not supposed to be liars in the first place. We shouldn't have to take an oath. We say something, the Prophet ﷺ was al-Amin, so we should be trusted anyway. That's from the qualities of a believer. Okay. Now, should you have to take an oath by something, then you should only take an oath by Allah, because that means you're very serious. Sometimes you take an oath because you're serious, to emphasize, to reassure everyone that you are definitely saying the truth. Then you should only take an oath by Allah. And those who take oath by other things, they are doing something mistaken, wrong, haram, and it could be a worse sin depending on their level of conviction in that matter. And so the hadith says that he who swears by a religion other than that of Islam is like the one who has professed, i.e. believes in it. And he who kills himself with something, now this is a big issue, brothers and sisters, which is suicide. Unfortunately, there is a very, very big spike, and a rise in the cases of suicide. And you know what the funny thing is? Not funny, but the most shocking thing is, it's not funny at all. The most shocking thing is that it happens to be in some of the most richest, most comfortable societies, where someone seems to have all the food, drink, and bread, and clothing, and the luxuries in the world, and yet they find themselves in a situation where they want to take their own life. This is a very, very big disaster. And all of us who may have friends or family around us who are suffering from such thoughts and such mental situation, we must support them. We must protect them. Because like we know, protecting a person from death and from being killed is like protecting the whole of humanity. So if you know if someone's suffering from severe mental health issues in which they are contemplating harming themselves, hurting themselves, suiciding themselves, then you must help them, support them, so that they do not do this. Okay, because suicide, my friends, is a big sin, is a major sin, is a big sin, and it's not allowed in Islam at all. Why is it not allowed? Because who gave you your life? Did you give it your life? Allah gave you a life. And Allah gave you the life for a reason. And life is precious. And that's why preserving a life is like preserving the whole of humanity. So we have no right to take our own life because it's not my life. And it's a sin according to the Quran and Sunnah. So the Prophet ﷺ is telling us that whomsoever commits suicide with something, they use a knife, they use a rope, they use a gun, وَالْعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, or they use other substances, then they will be punished with that very same substance in the hellfire. Can you imagine? A'udhu billah, someone decided to take their own life with a knife. Imagine that becomes the source of their punishment in the hereafter. It's not allowed. Suicide is forbidden. You might think it's me, my life, my choice. No. It's your life. Yes, Allah gave it to you though. It's not your life. You didn't give it to yourself. Allah gave it to you. So you have responsibility and you've been entrusted with it. So we have to treat it and value it. And we have to respect it. And we have to live according to how Allah wants us to live. That's the second thing he said in this hadith. The third thing, a person is not bound to fulfill a vow about something which he does not possess. So someone who in his silliness and in his sin said, Wallahi bro, tomorrow I'm going to make the sun rise from the west. A'udhu billah. Is he able to do that? He can't. So he made a vow about something that he doesn't possess. That person will not be required to actually go and fulfill that because they cannot. But they must seek istighfar and tawbah and not make those same kind of statements again. Okay? Yes. And lastly, cursing a believer is like murdering a believer. So do you see, murdering of course has a severe sin, but when you curse a person, you say, I curse you. Curse of Allah be upon you. La'natullahi alayhi, for example. Ala la'natullah, Allah says in the Quran. But when you curse him, may Allah's curse be upon you, a'udhu billah, this is a very severe sin. When you curse someone like that, then it's like as if you have murdered that person, because the curse of Allah is a very severe matter. We shouldn't be cursing people willy-nilly, crazily, in a light manner. Curses, and you'll see in hadith to come that a curse is strictly forbidden. You shouldn't be cursing anybody. This of course means when you say, I curse you. But even if you're cursing, meaning using other words, the F word, the B word, the this word, the word, all the words in the world that people use, these are not allowed. You are not allowed to curse people. Because the Prophet ﷺ also said in another hadith, Al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi. A believer is the one from whose hand and from whose tongue other believers are safe from. And another hadith says, Man salima al-nasu min lisani wa yadihi. That everyone around you should feel safe, that you're not going to insult them, you're not going to harm them. You know, some people are like, when you're around them, you feel like this guy is going to punch me or something. Or he might just swear at me for no reason. Some people are very bad like that. This is not a believer. As in, this is not the qualities of a believer. We must change this. We should be people who people feel comfortable, safe around, feel peace around, feel comfort around, feel reassured around, feel trustworthy and trustable, and rely, they can rely upon you as a person. These are the qualities that Islam came to teach us. 1552 عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا ينبغي لصديق أن يكون لعانا. Sayyidina Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه أرضاه narrated that the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said, it does not befit a righteous Muslim to be a frequent curser to others, to frequently be cursing others, being foul-mouthed. It doesn't suit a believer. You allow your tongue, you're saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar with you. You're praising Allah, glorifying Allah, sending salutations and salams to the Prophet Muhammad, say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with it, and you want to curse with that, La wallah, and saying disgusting, foul language. Some of the language people use, wallah, is sickening. How do people use those words? They say some disgusting stuff about disgusting sins and etc. May Allah protect us all and guide us all. عن أبي الدرداء رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يكون اللعانون شفعاء ولا شهداء يوم القيامة. Sayyidina Abu Darda رضي الله عنه أرضاه narrated the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said, those who are frequently resorting to curse, those who curse people a lot, they are never going to be accepted as witnesses on the Day of Judgment. And they will never be allowed to be intercessors on behalf of somebody else on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Meaning you will have no value on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah will give no value to your words because you devalued your own words. 1554 عن سمرة بن جندب رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تلاعنوا بلعنة الله ولا بغضبه ولا بالنار. Samura ibn Jundub, another Sahabi, radiyallahu anhu ardah, narrated that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, if you give one salam to the Prophet, Allah will send you how many salams? 10 salams. Subhanallah. And if you send salams to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam will respond to your salams. Especially on Yawm al-Jumu'ah, which is preceded by the night of Jumu'ah, which is right now, this night here. Prophet ﷺ said, do not curse one another, invoking the curse of Allah or wrath of Allah or the fire of hell. Don't wish for Jahannam for someone else, especially, of course, if they are a believer. Don't say, oh, I curse you to Jahannam, or I curse you, but a'udhu billah. We shouldn't be saying these things. عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس المؤمن بالطعان ولا اللعان ولا الفاحش ولا البذيء. This is very important. Listen to this, it's very important. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud narrated the Prophet Muhammad said, a true believer is not involved in taunting others or frequently cursing others, or the one who is full of indecency and speaking in an indecent manner, or the one who is constantly abusing. You know, some people, they love talking about like nasty stuff. They always like, whenever they talk among boys or among girls, among their friends and among their like classmates, they always talk about nasty stuff, this nasty topics. They love talking about nasty topics. These are not from the qualities of the believers. He says, a true believer is not the one who's involved in ta'an, who's taunting, who's doubting people, gossiping about people, doubting about people. That's not from the qualities of believer. Wala al-la'an, nor the one who's only cursing and swearing at people, or the one who's always involved in fahish and indecency, indecent behavior, indecent talk, indecent thinking, indecent behavior. No, man. Be a decent, upright person. Wala al-badhi, or an abusive person. Sayyidina Abu Darda radiyallahu anhu narrated also that قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن العبد إذا لعن شيئا صعدت اللعنة إلى السماء فتغلق أبواب السماء دونها ثم تهبط إلى الأرض فتغلق أبوابها دونها ثم تأخذ يمينا وشمالا فإذا لم تجد مساغا رجعت إلى الذي لعن فإن كان أهلا لذلك وإلا رجعت إلى قائلها. You know, when you swear at someone or curse someone, listen to what happens. Sayyidina Abu Darda radiyallahu anhu arda is narrating, the Prophet Muhammad said, when a person curses somebody or something, you curse somebody or something, an animal, a thing, an item. Don't forget something. Every single item and even object is praising Allah. Allah said in the Quran, وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ حَلِيمًا غَفُورًا. Every single thing is praising Allah. So we are not allowed to curse anything because everything is praising Allah and it belongs to Allah. Unless it's done rightfully because of a due sin, because of a sin which is due upon them, because of a crime that they have committed, that's a separate matter. So he says, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when a person curses somebody or something, what happens? This curse, this word, you just said it with your tongue, you feel like, oh, it's just going to dissipate with the air. It's going to frizzle out into the oxygen around you and it's going to get burnt by the oxygen. No, it doesn't happen like that. It might happen in the physical world, in the physics and in the chemistry it might happen. But the reality is the value of the words and their meaning. What happens to the words? The curse goes up into the skies. Allah allows for the curse to go up into the skies. And when it tries to go into the skies, Allah closes. Allah allows for the angels to close the gates of the skies so that the swear word and the curse can't go above. Then what does this swear word do? You think it's finished. You said it in a second, in half a second. But what happened? This is not gone. It's not gone. It exists. It exists in reality and it's recorded. It's making a journey upwards. The door's closed, so it goes down. Then it comes down to the earth and the gates are also closed. So this curse and this swear word is now flying around looking for where it should land. So what happens? Then it turns right and left, going right, going left, this swear word, this curse going right and left. And it has no chance or entrance to go anywhere. So it returns. So what does it do? Finally, it makes an attempt to land upon the person you cursed. For example, Abdullah cursed Muhammad, a'udhu billah. Or Abdullah cursed, I don't know, Khalid. Zayd cursed Amr, for example, okay? Zayd cursed Amr, for example. All of this is going to happen. The curse is going to go up, down, right, left, nowhere to land. Finally, because Zayd cursed Amr, the curse is going to try and land upon Amr, on the person that he was targeted for. But suppose now, this person that you've sworn at, or cursed, or spoken ill of, it's not actually true about them. It doesn't befit them. It will not be able to land on that person. For example, you said, this guy, he's a thief. For example, you said this. He's a thief, he's a liar. So this swear word, this insult, this accusation will try to land upon that person. But if it's not true, do you know what happens? It comes back to you. So mate, you just shot yourself in the foot. Because if you're cursing someone unduly in a way that does not befit them, then it's only going to come back to you. So you say, may Allah's curse be upon you. It comes back to you if the other person is not befitting of that curse. So be careful with your words. عن عمران بن الحسين رضي الله عنه وأرضاه قال بينما رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في بعض أسفاره وامرأة من الأنصار على ناقة فضجرت فلعنتها فسمع ذلك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال خذوا ما عليها ودعوها فإنها ملعونة. قال عمران فكأني أراها الآن تمشي في الناس ما يعرض لها أحد. Imran ibn Husayn radiallahu anhu narrated that we were with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam on a journey, traveling with him somewhere. And there was a woman from the Ansar. There was a woman, most likely a woman that was accompanying them in the journey, or maybe a servant or something. She was riding also a camel. She was riding a camel along with the caravan. She was riding a camel. And all of a sudden, what this woman done is she cursed and she abused. She cursed the camel. She said, may Allah's curse be upon you, to the camel, because the camel wasn't behaving. It wasn't carrying the load that she wanted it to carry. Maybe it was too heavy. So instead of offloading some of it and being kind to the camel, she started cursing it. Like many animal riders and owners do, they abuse the animals. You will be brought to question by Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah for abusing your animals and abusing your horse and your cows and your donkeys and your camels like some people do, may Allah protect us. So she cursed this animal. So the Prophet ﷺ heard that she'd done this. So what did he tell her? He said, take everything off the camel. Offload the animal. And set the camel free. Because it has been cursed. What does this mean? I'll tell you what it means. There's another hadith similar to it. Let's read that as well, and then I'll tell you what they both mean. عن أبي برزة نضلة ابن عبيد الأسلمي رضي الله عنه قال بينما جارية على ناقة عليها بعض متاع القوم إذ بصرت بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وتضايق بهم الجبل فقالت حل اللهم العنها فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تصاحبنا ناقة عليها لعنة. Abu Barza Najla ibn Ubaid al-Aslami radiyallahu ibn Nadla bin Ubaid, sorry, not Ubaid, like with the ayn here. May Allah be pleased with him, narrated that a young woman who was riding a she camel on which there were some luggages of the people. So now we know some more information. And this is the beauty of having more than one narration. In the previous one, hadith, we never had the information that there was luggage on the camel. So there was some luggage, some baggage on the camel. Then suddenly she saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She noticed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the pass of the mountain became narrow. So basically, it was a difficult journey because the path in the mountain was becoming very, very narrow. Okay, for her people. The young woman said to the she camel. Then all of a sudden, while it was becoming a difficult situation, the woman said to the she camel, "Go ahead, go forward, go forward with all the luggage. Go forward." Hal means go forward. But the camel wasn't moving. Maybe it was too difficult. Maybe it was too steep. Maybe it was scared. Maybe it was whatever. They are animals. They also have feelings, you know. So she said after that, instead of trying to be merciful, instead of being merciful, because we should be merciful. Ar-Rahimuna yarhamuhumur Rahman. Merciful ones, Allah is merciful to them. So she said, "Oh Allah, curse it." She cursed the animal. So the Prophet ﷺ said, the she camel. Then the Prophet ﷺ said to her, "You have cursed the she camel. You've cursed the camel. The camel that has been cursed is not going to accompany us. Take everything off." What does it mean? What it means, dear brothers and sisters and those who are watching online, is that the Prophet ﷺ did this in order to teach us a lesson. Do you know why? He told them, take everything, all the baggage and luggage off the animal and let the animal go free. So who suffered? Did the animal suffer or did the people suffer? The people suffered, right? The people suffered because now they have to carry their luggages. So this was in fact a form of ta'deeb and teaching from the Prophet ﷺ and reprimanding, saying, you're going to curse a camel, an animal that Allah gave you as a gift to help you with your load. وَتَحْمِلُ أَثْقَالَكُمْ إِلَى بَلَدٍ لَمْ تَكُونُوا بَالِغِيهِ إِلَّا بِشِقِّ الْأَنفُسِ, as Surah An-Nahl says, that they carry your weight to different countries, and now you want to curse this camel. Then you know what? Set it free. Let it free. It is the creation of Allah. It will live freely, and you now have to suffer the consequences. You have to now carry your own load. Before she was carrying it, i.e. the camel, and now you have to carry it yourself. He didn't say anything about, for example, you're not allowed to eat the animal. It's not cursed as in, meaning cursed as in it completely needs to be disposed of. No, it was a reprimanding and a disciplining, so that we learn that we should watch our tongue. We should watch our tongue. That's the shahid here. We should watch our words and watch our tongue and use it carefully and say good or stay quiet. Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, as the hadith says, whomsoever believes in Allah and in the last day, فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا, let them either say good أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ, or stay quiet. That's the end of the chapter, and we shall end here. Are there any questions? Yes.
No, it's regarding cars. আমরা অনেক সময় তো আল্লাহর কাছে বলি আল্লাহ আমার আল্লাহ বেজ্জতি করছে তার আল্লাহ বেজ্জতি করে দেয় বা আমার যে ক্ষতি করছে আপনি তার ওলা একটা আমরা প্রার্থনা করি নি আল্লাহর কাছে. Would this be fall into curse as well?
No. That's not curse. Curse, that's called making dua to Allah, making a dua to Allah or complaint to Allah against someone. If you do this because you've been oppressed, then you have a right to make this dua. But even then, sabr is better. But you have right. You're not sinful for this. We're talking about curse when someone says, may Allah not for Allah goes up for Tata for like our Bengalis. We have some very bad curses in our language, by the way. For those of you who understand. Tata for like we have this nasty. You know, sometimes you don't understand this, but in Bengali they say, may a lightning strike you. So our Bengali language is crazy, man. And I'm sure they have similar equivalences in Urdu and other languages too. So this kind of cursing is not allowed. Haji Sahab, do you have this kind of curse in Dakhai as well? In Shuddho? Can you give me an example? Tata hoini, tata hoini. This Tata is not Tata, the company of India that make trucks. This Tata is curse. May Allah protect us all. Any other questions? Young boys, mashallah, nice to see you. Where did you guys come from today? Why? Oh, you came for the cars? Yeah. May Allah bless you all and you have a safe journey back. May Allah bless you and your steps that you took all the way from North London and make you all ulama and da'is ila Allah and protect you all and make you mashayikh and beacons of light and of hidayah and accept us all for serving His deen. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Any other questions? Yes, Nabil.
Are intentions and thoughts recorded?
Intentions and thoughts are not recorded unless you make a firm intention. Unless you've made a decisive mind. So you're contemplating, should I have a Big Mac or not? It's not a sin. But then you made a plan. I'm going to take an Uber. I'm going to have a Big Mac, even though it's haram. As in the haram ones I'm talking about. And of course, even if it was halal, as in the meat, you should still boycott because they're supporting genocide. So what do? Here, when you've made a firm intention, then it will be recorded as a sin. But if you even on the last minute say astaghfirullah, you shake it off, then Allah will reward you for avoiding that sin. So that's the mercy of Allah. من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها, as the Quran says in Surah Al-An'am, that whomsoever comes with a good deed, Allah will give them 10 times as many good deeds. And if you do a bad deed, Allah will only record one bad deed for you. Subhanallah. That's the mercy of Allah. Any other questions? Qasam only with Allah. Should want to Allah nam diye qasam no allowed. Isra qasam with nothing else is allowed. Take an oath saying wallahi, I swear by Allah, I take an oath by Allah. But taking an oath by anything besides. But in the Quran, so someone might say, hey, hold on. Why does the Quran says wal-layl, wad-duha? Allah is taking an oath by the night and the day and the morning. Well, guess what? Allah can take an oath by whatever He wants. But we can only take the oath by Allah. For Allah is allowed, because there are no rules. Allah is the king. He makes the rules. We follow them. So yes, for us, we are not allowed to make any oath with anything besides Allah. Okay? Thank you, Shabab. Yes, sir.
You know you're not allowed to curse, but what if someone else is cursing you? What should you do?
If someone else is cursing you, then you should tell them to stop and not curse them back. Okay? You shouldn't curse. But again, if it gets very serious and look, if you haven't incited it, I mean, you were just responding, then Allah knows this. But still cursing is not good. Because look at the Prophet ﷺ, he was cursed, but what did he do? Did he curse back? There were some people they thought they're funny. They thought they're jokers. They said, instead of saying Assalamu alaikum to the Prophet ﷺ, they're like Assalamu alaik, Assalamu alaik. And Assam means death. Death be upon you. So they're trying to mock salam and also curse the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ could have easily said Wassalamu alaikum and curse be upon you too. Do you know what he did? Instead of cursing them back, he said Wa alaikum. Just like you've said, same upon you. So he didn't even respond the same words of curse like them. So this is from the adab and the etiquettes and the manners of the Prophet ﷺ. It's very unfortunate that even some of those brothers and sisters maybe who are claiming to be in da'wah, but always insulting people, cussing people, cursing people, trying to force them out of Islam. No way he's a Muslim, even though the guy probably is a Muslim and prays salah and believes in properly. So this kind of etiquette and this kind of adab and akhlaq and characteristic, wallahi, is not from the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ wasn't adamant to call people kafir, was he? Was he always trying to call people kafir, or was he trying to make excuse for people to make them Muslim? He wasn't adamant to call people munafiq, even though he knew who the munafiqeen were. So this is the usloob, cursing and trying to eject people, and I don't know, man. Allah's Jannah is very wide. Jannatin arduha as-samawati wal ard. The entire universe, the 7 heavens and the 7 earths. This entire universe, by the way, is all within the first heaven, i.e. the first sky, first world. The entire 7 heavens and the 7 everything would fit into Jannah sideways. Allah's Jannah is very vast. Why are you trying to take people out of it for? The last person to go to Jannah will have the entire world and 10 times as much. And when they will see their Jannah, they will say, Allah, is this really for me? Because I'm the last person to go to Jannah. Surely it's all been taken up and busied by other people. And don't forget, this is the same person that was actually being punished before by the punishments of Jahannam, because they had some sins. So they were sinful, they were cleansed of their sin, they were washed in the water of life, they became rejuvenated back to a normal person. And then now they're eventually going to Jannah after many thousands of years of punishment. And they get 10 times the size of this world. And some of us think Jannah is just for me and my friends. No one else can go to Jannah. Me and my clique can go to Jannah only. Everyone else has to be thrown into Jahannam. A'udhu billah. May Allah protect us and guide us all. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.